Professor Brain Brown's research shows that vulnerability fosters good emotional and mental health. It is a sign of courage. We become more resilient and brave when we embrace who we truly are and what we are feeling. The Vulnerable Scientist podcast is a space for scientists to tell their honest and authentic stories. I am your host, Sarah Nyakeri, who happens to be a scientist, informal science communicator, and I help scientists create personal websites. If you want to support this show, go to www.patreon.com/thevulnerable-scientist. You can also follow this podcast on all social media platforms at TV Scientist Pod. You are really thirsty.
Oh, I'm done now. I'm done taking what?
No, it's not a problem. Actually, it's a good sound effect if you're talking about sound effects. But you're really thirsty. Okay, all right. So now you have 3 roles. How do you navigate that?
Yes, so...
Plus, you're a student. Wait, how did I ask you about how you got into masters? Why did you decide to do... No, please tell us that one.
When I joined UBIC, and UBIC is based within NARO, we work with researchers for most of the time to promote their research to the stakeholders. So when I joined UBIC, that was actually fresh from campus. So when you join an area and you're trying to look around for mentors, you're trying to figure out what career path to follow, what do you want to do? First of all, I had done biotechnology. So traditionally, I'd be expected to be in the laboratory. But then here, I find myself exploring this whole new field of policy and communications. So luckily, the coordinator of UBIC, the founding coordinator, was also actually a biotechnologist by training with a PhD in genetic engineering, who also, out of the passion for biosafety and for communications, she founded UBIC.
Do you want to say her name?
Oh, she's Dr. Barbara Zawede.
Okay.
Mugwanya. Yeah. She's now director of research for one of the institutes in NARO. Yeah. Dr. Barbara Mugwanya Zawede. I joined when she was the coordinator of UBIC. So I tried to have these discussions because the thing I loved about her, much as we were working here, she always loved growth, you know? She loved that people come here, they pick up the skills, they pick up the experience, and they grow into their careers. So she always urged us, to advance, go beyond the bachelor's degree and, figure out what you want to do to specialize in, look out for a master's and, move on. So having all these interactions made me think hard about what kind of career path I wanted to pursue. So I figured that, in my opinion, to be good and respected when I'm communicating about science.
In my opinion, I love that.
Yes. Others could challenge it, but in my opinion, to be good and respected, to speak with authority about biotechnology specifically, I needed to be an expert in the biotechnology itself. So I figured I would have first vertical career growth. In other words, become good at biotechnology, the science. Thereafter, have lateral growth, adding the policy and communications aspects.
Wow, I felt that way, by the way, when... I don't know why I'm inserting my story here. I felt that way. I felt that same way when I wanted to do my master's. Because when I got into... when you were saying about volunteership, let's go back to that. When you're talking about volunteership, I was looking for opportunities when I was done with my university, and the person who was willing to listen to me liked my blog. He was like, you are in science and you blog. So there's this thing called science writing, science communication. You could get into that. But he's not a science communicator himself. He knows about it. And he's a scientist. And he does a lot of advocacy things when it comes to communicating the science. So it's technically a science communicator. It's just that he is not. He doesn't say he's a science
doesn't identify as one.
Yeah. I've been saying this, but I've just realized he is actually a science communicator. Anyway, so I got into that. After that, I he was not like there really, because he was a full-on scientist, a full-on professor. So he was always busy. And I got into that space not knowing, okay, who do I talk to? Who do I ask this and this? He told me, okay, since I do not have funding to have you in the lab, because for him to get me into the lab, which is about $1,000 per month, for me to be able to have lab access fees in the ILRI space. So he was like, I don't have cash for that, but I like your digital skills. Why don't you get into this space? So he like gave me a platform. So he was like, oh, created this social media strategy of how you can, disseminate this information about sweet potatoes to the public and blah, 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 blah. And I did that. It was mainly volunteer. I was not like there because, of course, you can't be in the ILRI compound without a contract, but I was engaging with him, and it was really volunteer. But I really liked it. Like I really liked the idea. I liked the challenge. It's something I didn't know, so I liked the challenge. I was already in digital marketing at that time, but I didn't know the digital marketing part of science. If I'm making sense, I don't know.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so I didn't know that. So when I got into this space, the people who were there were people who didn't have a science background, but they're in the comms. And since I was not assigned to anyone, I was just the one trying to seek help from everyone and anyone to figure out what kind of communication goes on, or what is communication when it comes to science, right?
Yeah.
So I became hungry, because I'm not those people who sit somewhere and waits for instructions. I should be sometimes, but I'm not that kind of person. So I was like, I'm being paid. But I started being paid now. And I was being paid for something I wasn't seeing I didn't see what I was doing really. Like, I want to see something running,
Yeah.
And that's when I started seeking for mentors in that space, looking for people who have a science background specifically and who are in science communication. And I found someone from ILRI called Ekta Patel, though she replied later when I had already applied for my master's. Then I also found Bibiana Iraki, who is from ISA, the Agri-Biotech Applications thing.
Yes, I know.
International Service for Agri-Biotech Applications. International Service. Oh my goodness. International Service for acquisition of agri-biotech applications. So stuff with GMO gene editing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think you know about it. Do you?
I know ISA, yeah.
Oh, you should, man.
And I've also interacted with Bibiana before.
Yeah, she is amazing.
Yeah.
She should come to this podcast. We've been postponing it. Anyway, so I met Bibiana and I was like, I'm seeking this. And that time they were looking for an intern who has a biochemistry, biotechnology background who would come into communication. And that time they were arranging this thing in South Africa for gene editing, the biennial something.
ABBC.
ABBC, yes, ABBC.
The Africa Biennial Biosciences Conference.
Yes, 2019. Yeah. And I got into that space. And at the time when I was there, I was like, okay, this is a good... I started now being like, I think this is what I want to do. Because I had the website management part of it because I was already running a blog. I knew the digital part of it because I had already been part of social media campaigns, but not in the science background. But now I was now part of it. I was already doing blogs, and I was excited about the science communication thing, and I was like, I need to be in this. So I started looking for what are science communicators like. Like I started looking for profiles of science communicators, and I found that the people who have a science background, most of them except Bibiana, who immediately went into comms, like she got a master's in journalism. I didn't see that happening here in Africa. Like I didn't see, even when I even looked for opportunities in masters. Like if I wanted to go into communication, what could I do? I tried to figure out postgraduate in agriculture, but I don't know why I didn't consider it as a postgraduate diploma. I wanted to go into that because I saw someone called another lady also who is in food science, but she went into full comms. She did a postgraduate in agricultural communication thing. So I wanted to go into that, but I wasn't sure. I was like, since I can't, they need these things, and I don't have, from a science background. Same thing with the journalism. This is not something I can do. So I was like, why don't I just go to back to my comfort zone? Because communication it didn't come very easy for me. I loved it, but it didn't come very easy. So I was like, why don't I do something that is in my comfort zone? Science, it is my comfort zone. Then I I felt like if I wanted to go into science communication, at least I should, if I'm coming from a science background, I should really have a strong background in science, in science, because I also saw someone from still ISA, but the general, I think, director, Maha Arujanan.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at her profile and she was like, she did science for BSc masters, but she did a science communication PhD. So I was like, I could go into that path, or maybe I just go full on science, then still do this, the communication part. So I get you when you're saying that if you want to talk matters biotechnology, then why don't you become an expert? That's why but they were I talk. So yeah, there's that part of me.
Wow, that was cool.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you pick it up from there.
Yeah. So that's when I made up my mind that I was going to do biotechnology until PhD level. Still do my communications because it's really a big part of me now. I love it.
Yeah.
And
it's passion.
Grow vertically. Then when you get there, you can do whatever you want to do with your degrees. But at least when you're a biotechnologist by definition.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that same kind of growth enabled UBK's founding coordinator to easily switch from coordinating a communication hub to running a research institute. Because she was a fully qualified scientist, having a PhD in genetic engineering research, but at the same time good with policy and communication.
Yeah.
So she could easily fit in both
managerial
spaces.
Position.
Yeah.
Amazing. By the way, if you look at it, that's very true. So, did you get a scholarship for that? Like, tell us the intricacies of applying for masters in Uganda.
Well, incidentally, I know applying for a master's is really a very, very tough time. But I think I really didn't find it as tough as many of my colleagues do. Reason being, what happened, I have a very long time friend of mine who happened to have done his undergraduate in India. So this guy comes back home, one of those breaks, and he's like, the government of India has these scholarships. It's really a very straightforward process. Do an aptitude test. In case you pass, you get selected. You fail, And I was like, this is really the most stress-free application process I have seen. Because typically you have to get all these recommendation letters, and a lot of things.
Yeah.
Some you have to do these English tests,
Yeah.
So I found this really quite
easy.
Good. And registration was free of charge, registering for the aptitude test. So
which school is this? Please tell us.
The scholarship?
Yeah.
The scholarship is called Study in India.
Okay.
It's a scholarship by the government of India, I think, for both undergraduate and postgraduate. So you select the course you want and the university you want. You do an aptitude test like the American SATs. They test English and math. Then in case you select, I think the cutoff points always vary. Depending on how you score, you may get full or 75% or 50%, depending on how you score on the test.
Okay.
So I happened to get the 100% scholarship to join KIT University for the Masters in Biotechnology. But then it happened around the time when COVID had come around. So I couldn't travel to India for that. So for most of the time, for the theory bit of it, we had to do these classes online. then this good to go to university physically and get in some practicals into our skill set and also work on the dissertations. Yeah.
So where are you with that right now?
Well, I did my dissertation. I'm now back home to prepare for another fellowship. I finished submitting my dissertation. Yeah, so the degree is almost done.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, so you how did you navigate that? Like having you're a student, you have a full-time role, you are doing Science Stories Africa, and now this new thing in Synbio.
Well, I think one of the things that really played to my advantage was vertical growth, you know? I was specializing in something I already did for undergraduate. So most of the things weren't really new, only that maybe we were diving deeper into the science, but it was still the same, more or less the same course units, only that, you know, it being postgraduate, they tried to bring in more science. So it was very easy to pick on, you know? So secondly, being online, it was easy to attend classes on the go.
Yeah.
I could easily be writing a report as I'm listening into the lecturer. So
you are saying ningesema na Kiswahili, if I would say it in Swahili, that unajishtaki. How do you say that in English, man? I wish I had another first. You're spilling your secrets.
I guess that's the point of this podcast. So.
Yeah.
People need to know these things.
That's how do you navigate that when you have, you know, things that needs to be done. Continue.
So, and the other thing, the time zone, India's time zone is 2.5 hours later than us. So classes always tended to end a bit earlier in the day. Yeah, so they start very early, like at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning, but still by around 1, 2 p.m. they are done. So I always really had a bit of time in my day to do my other work.
Things,
in the afternoons. But then one of the biggest advantages was the very first one, that I had already background knowledge in most of the things. So catching up on, you know, coursework, understanding notes, following up on lectures, was really always a very, very easy thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah. And even when I went there for the physical engagements, it was always a bit flexible. You go in for your lab time, do your lab time, you're done, you have the rest of the day to yourself to catch up on the assignments. And that's the bit of communication. I can communicate from anywhere. I can submit reports from anywhere. I can do meetings from anywhere. It was really quite
Let
easy.
me tell you a secret. Is it a secret anyway when I say it here? I have always wanted to do something that is remote. That's what I wanted to do, something to do with bioinformatics. But the science communication bit really amazes me because I don't have to be somewhere for me to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a career that really interests me because of the remoteness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Though I love the outreach. I love meeting new faces. So it's right at the intersection of two things that I love.
That's amazing.
I love working from home, but at the same time I love interacting with new faces. So it's a good place to.
It's a good hybrid of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you navigate your time.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
But now that I'm done with the academic bit of it, I'm now back to working full time. So this Synbio Africa initiative really came in at a very good point when I have all the time on my hands.
Amazing.
Though still, there's another fellowship coming up, so I have to work remote again for a few months.
Okay. Which fellowship?
This fellowship is also a policy fellowship by the Breakthrough Institute. They call it a Breakthrough Generation Fellowship.
It's for what?
So the idea is that the Breakthrough Institute is a policy research institute. They research on a variety of issues in science. They call it ecomodernism. So they research on energy, environment, food and farming. So my case being with a bit of experience in agriculture biotechnology, I'm in the food and farming section. So I'll be exposed to doing policy research in the food and farming sector. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's amazing. But at least it's remote though.
No, it's physical.
It's physical.
I have to be traveling to California for the fellowship.
Wow. Yeah. I love that in science people travel. Do you love that? I do love that.
I love it. But this is policy and communications, really. I won't be seeing any laboratory anywhere.
Yeah. But it's still science. That's why.
Still science. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's go to why am I shouting? Let's go to the lows that you've experienced in your research. In your career path, sorry. Sorry, before we go to that, I don't know. I feel like I'm confused today. We didn't talk about the biotechnology research that you're doing, that you've submitted. Do you want to, I don't know, say in brief what you are doing?
So what I'm looking at is that rice is a major staple crop, especially on the Asian continent.
Okay.
So one of the key aspects in boosting productivity is ensuring these rice varieties are stress tolerant, especially for biotic stresses. So the kind of research I was doing, I was reviewing...
What is abiotic stresses?
Abiotic, I'd almost call them non-living stresses. These are things like salt, high levels of salt, drought, or high levels of water, waterlogged areas. Or there could be minerals, all these metallic minerals in the soils affecting rice. Could be very high or very low temperatures. So basically anything that affects productivity that is not a living thing, that's not a pest caused or living caused stress, it qualifies to be abiotic.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So you're saying something.
So I'm doing a review of research on specifically looking at the proteome of the peroxisome and how it helps and how it contributes to abiotic stress tolerance in rice. Yeah, so the whole idea is to identify the gaps in this research and make recommendations for further research in this.
Also, it's a review. It's not.
It's a review. Yeah. It's not a lab. I'm a communications person, so
I should do that, man. I should have done that. By the way, I should have done that. Oh man.
And I think that's the advantage of deciding on where you want to see your career going earlier on. Because I was like, yes, I want to do biotech, but I'm policy and communications.
Yeah, so you do something related to where you're going to.
Exactly.
Wow, you're so fantastic, man.
Thank you.